You know, the great philosopher Immanuel Kant, he spent his entire life building this incredible map of human reason, charting its limits and its powers. But what if, right at the end, he turned that powerful mind inward? What if he decided to tackle the one thing his philosophy always took for granted, but never truly explained? Let's imagine we found a lost manuscript, where Kant confronts his final, deepest question: consciousness itself. Right here in this fictional preface, Kant calls consciousness a primordial fact. It's the absolute bedrock of all our experience. But, and this is the big but, he says it's almost impossible to get a grip on. The moment you try to turn around and look at your own consciousness, it's gone. It's like trying to grab a handful of smoke. And that's the central problem he's wrestling with. So it all boils down to this one simple, massive question. Our minds can figure out the laws of physics, the orbits of planets, the sheer scale of the universe. But can that very same tool, the mind, turn back on itself and draw an accurate map of its own territory? So where do you even begin with a problem like that? Well, Kant starts with a paradox that's right at the heart of who we are. He calls it the problem of the seer who cannot see itself. His first big move is to split the idea of self in two. On one hand, you have the I that knows. That's the pure active subject that's doing the thinking, the one listening to my voice right now. But then, on the other hand, there's the self that is known. All the thoughts, feelings, and memories you can observe about yourself. It's kind of like the difference between the I that's doing the seeing and the reflection of that I that you can see in a mirror. They're related, but they are not the same thing. Now, Kant gives this knowing I one of the most famously complicated names in all of philosophy, the transcendental unity of apperception. Okay, I know, it's a mouthful. But the idea behind it is actually pretty simple. It's just the I think that you can mentally attach to any of your experiences. It's what stitches everything together and makes it all feel like it's happening to you. It's not a thing, it's an activity, the constant act of unifying. And this line from the fictional manuscript just captures the whole dilemma perfectly. The very act of looking for the I is being done by the I. It's the ultimate catch-22. It's like trying to see your own eyeball without a mirror. The tool you're using to look is the thing you're trying to look at. So we're left with this really unsettling question. If the part of you that's doing the knowing is fundamentally separate from the part of you it can observe, does that mean we can never, ever truly know ourselves completely? But Kant doesn't just leave us stuck in that paradox. He takes this very abstract idea of the I and connects it to something we're all experiencing constantly, the flow of time. See, Kant says the self isn't some static object. It's a dynamic process. It's a constant act of weaving time together. I mean, think about what's happening right now as you listen to me. Your mind is holding on to the words I just said a second ago. That's retention. It's experiencing the word you're hearing in this exact moment. That's presentation. And it's already anticipating the next word, the end of my sentence. That's protension. Your mind is doing all three at once, seamlessly. And that synthesis is what creates the feeling of life as an unbroken thread. And this leads to an incredible reversal of how we normally think. We tend to feel like we're just passengers moving through time, right? Like a boat floating down a river. But Kant flips that completely. He suggests our consciousness is what's actually creating the river of time. The unifying activity of our mind is what structures reality into this flow of past, present, and future. Okay, so if our consciousness constitutes our experience of time, then what about the world itself? What about that chair you're sitting on or the screen you're looking at? How does our mind relate to that reality? This is where Kant introduces what you could call the wall of perception. So this is probably Kant's most famous and, most mind-bending idea. He says we never experience the world as it really is. We only ever experience the phenomenon. That's the world as it appears to us after it's been filtered through the built-in operating system of our minds. Think of it like we're all wearing a pair of virtual reality goggles that we can never, ever take off. Those goggles structure everything we see into categories like space, time, and causality. The world as it is in itself, what he calls the noumenon, is forever beyond our direct reach. Now, it's really important to get this right because it's a common misunderstanding. The noumenon isn't some other spookier reality hiding behind a curtain. It's the unknowable underlying foundation of the very reality we experience every single day. It's the depth of the world, not another world entirely. And this leads to a wild speculation. Think about it. The inner I that knows is, in a way, noumenal. We can't ever grasp it as an object. and the world in itself is noumenal. So if both the self and the world have this deep, unknowable dimension, could they actually be connected, or maybe even the same thing, at a level that our minds simply can't perceive? Whoa, that question takes us right to the very edge of what we can know. And for Kant, reaching this limit isn't about failure. It's not a dead end. Instead, it's a doorway that opens up to something much deeper, a sense of humility and total awe. Just as this line from the manuscript says, drawing a circle around what we can know doesn't trap us. It's actually the opposite. By understanding the limits of our reason, we can finally appreciate the sheer, mind-boggling vastness of what lies beyond those limits. It opens our minds to the infinite. And in this fictional unsent letter, Kant makes a truly breathtaking claim. He says consciousness isn't just some random accident, a byproduct of a complicated brain. No, he speculates it's the fundamental light of existence. Without consciousness, the universe might still exist, but it wouldn't appear to anyone. It would be this grand, silent theater with no audience to watch the show. And he takes it one step further. He suggests that this feeling we all have of being separate individuals, me over here, you over there, that this is also just an appearance, a product of how our phenomenal minds work. The final truth, he speculates, the nominal truth, is unity. And here it is. This is the ultimate, stunning conclusion of his final reflections. The idea that maybe we aren't all separate little lamps, each generating our own private light. Maybe we are all just windows, apertures, through which one single universal consciousness is shining. You know, the actual historical Kant's last recorded words were "S is good, it is good," or maybe "it is enough," a simple statement of peace, of acceptance, right in the face of the ultimate mystery. Which really just leaves us with one final thought to ponder. Is that boundary that Kant so carefully drew around human reason a barrier that holds us back? Or is it actually a doorway, inviting us to look beyond what we can ever prove and into the realm of pure wonder?